Wait no longer. Greatness has arrived. Welcome to the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast made by the players for the players. I'm your host, Joseph, aka Mr. Badbit, and it is here where me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest, the greatest in all things PlayStation. Of course, you can listen to this show wherever you get your RSS feed, and if you really like us, you can hit us with a 5-star review on iTunes, and if you really, really, really like us, you could have donated over at patreon.com/badbit, but please instead go to savethechildren.com. They need your help. Go over there. With all that said, and with all that out of the way, the greatest co-host whoever is, whoever will be, Mr. Kyle Stevenson. How are you, sir?
Bravo, Mr. Badbit. That was we were just saying before, like we asked our guests how many times that the intro is kind of messed up, and because notoriously, Joe, almost every week, 2 or 3 takes.
Sometimes they get it
perfect.
That was great because I kind of studied a little bit on Patreon. I was like, oh no, but I owned it. That was my thing. I was owning it. Kyle, your family had a health scare. You posted on Twitter. Everything's fine.
Yeah. Everything's good. For those that are not aware, last week my dad had a fever and he was coughing for a while. So we brought him to the doctor. They said it was either appendicitis because he was having pain in his abdominal region, or the coronavirus. He got tested for corona twice. Both came back negative. Awesome. It is appendicitis. He's feeling much better. Hopefully we'll have him home in a couple of days, but I want to express my deepest gratitude to everyone in the community and everyone on Twitter and Facebook, whatever. Just keeping my family in their thoughts and prayers. It means the world to me. Yeah,
then, man, again, I'm so happy that your family's okay, that it is negative. And I know we said originally we didn't want to bring that much Corona talk into the show, but only if it mattered. This week we got a ton of stuff, but we also got a very special guest with us, and that is Mr. Kahlief from Spawn on Me. How are you, sir?
What up, everybody? I hope you're all doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to rock with you. Plus, it's the folks who may not be able to see the video stuff. I'm seeing a beautiful New York Mets logo in the back of the room, which means that we are now family because of this.
Hell yeah.
So word. I'm super excited to rock with y'all today.
Dude, and you know what? I have the Spawn on Me shirt. Dumb me didn't decide to wear it tonight. That would have been a great... Well, no. Maybe it's better that way because you don't... you usually if you're at a concert, you don't wear your band's favorite, your band's shirt. This is bad luck. It was better that way. But, Kahlief, if anybody doesn't know who you are, what you do, please, elevator pitch. Who are you? What's Spawn on Me? All that jazz.
Yeah, so I'm Kahlief Adams. I've been rocking the Spawn on Me podcast for the past 6 years. We spotlight people of color in the gaming industry. It's been fantastic to be able to meet and greet and hang out with so many folks in the community and rock with you all tonight. So yeah, if you want to have conversations around all the things that most podcasts don't want to talk about in the gaming space, that's the place to come is over at Spawn on Me, and we'll have those conversations for real.
Yeah, and honest to goodness, you have some of the best interviews on the internet. It's not simplistic. It gets down to the nitty gritty of not just what it's like in the gaming industry or in the tech field, but what it's like as a person of color. And you do a fantastic job of bringing each perspective to life. And I appreciate them greatly. You did one of my favorites you did was, I think in like February at DICE, you interviewed, I think the president of the ESA, right?
Yeah. We had Stanley Pierre-Louis on, who's the CEO and president of the ESA. And if you have not been paying attention to all the news that's been happening around E3 of last year and in E3 this year, it was a pretty insightful conversation about the future of where E3 was kind of going, and the perspective that Stanley was going to bring as the kind of new head of the outfit, and try to make things a little bit better for folks. But it sucks because now there's no E3 because of all the other things that are happening in the world. So he has to kind of wait and put his actual plans into motion, another year away from now.
And trust me, we're going to talk about it in this episode because today we are talking about E3's digital event being canceled. We're going to talk about the DualShock 5 controller finally revealed, or the DualSense controller, rather. We're going to get that wrong a lot in this episode. I can feel it. And of course... The Last of Us 2 delayed indefinitely. But before we get into all of that, a little segment I like to call What You've Been Playing. I'm going to go to you, Kyle. What have you been playing, my man?
Not much because of the family stuff, but I wanted something to kind of like just mindlessly play. And for me, that's Borderlands. So I played more of the Borderlands 3 DLC, Guns, Love, and Tentacles. One of the best DLCs Borderlands has ever had. It is so damn good. I love the gothic soundtrack. I love the gothic style. The voice acting, the new characters that are come in, I love their voice actors and the performance they give. I think I might have said this last week, but I feel like the story in this is better than the Borderlands 3 main story. I like the writing more in this one than the actual main campaign. It's great. It's a good solid 6-7 hours more if you want to hit everything and hit max level.
They're also doing something with science, right?
Yes,
weird.
I found that out after I finished the main campaign of the DLC. I went to Sanctuary and I saw one of the exclamation points for a new mission. And I go up to the med bay, and there's like an arcade machine there. I was like, oh, that's cool. And I plug it in, and then Mayim Bialik from like Big Bang Theory and Blossom from back in the day, who is a real scientist, is talking about like, hey, by playing this, you're helping us like help scientists around the world deal with learning about DNA and everyone's intricacies and how that will help go out. It was kind of like what was it, Folding Home on PS3?
Okay.
Where you just let it running and it would use your PS3 for computing power.
That's dope.
And so you play like a puzzle game, and by doing that, you're helping scientists build out the formula and help science, which is awesome. And you when you do the puzzles, you get in-game currency, which then you can buy for boosts in the main game. So like an hour of increased loot drops or level boosting, like for 30 minutes or whatever. Like, it's cool. It rewards you for doing it, and it's for a good cause.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Yeah, I know Ed Placencia was playing it on Twitch like for hours. I'm like, all right, that's dope. It looks super interesting. For me, I've been playing this little game called Resident Evil 3 Remake. We just did a Road to Greatness on it with the amazing Joe after work. And it's a game, all right. If you enjoyed...
That is a back of the box quote if there ever was one. It's a game, all right.
Because like I have so many conflicting thoughts on it. Like there are, the first 30 minutes is fantastic. Arguably the first hour, fantastic. And the last hour, fantastic. But then there's some design choices like the dodge mechanic that I just could not get behind. I don't know, Kahlief, have you played it any?
I'm playing it. I think I'm right towards the last set. They're probably like in the last 10 to 15 minutes of that game. Yeah. And right now, I'll be honest.
Go for it.
If we were to do we have a thing at Spawnomy called the Spawnies that we do every year.
Yeah.
If there was a Spawnie that it would be the most disappointing game so far of 2020.
Yeah, I can understand that. I could because the second one was so great. The second one was fantastic, and this third one feels a lot like the remix that nobody wanted. You know what I mean? Like they had really good intentions, but the actual execution is piss poor in a lot of different ways. But I am playing it, and it's weird because I can't say I'm enjoying it in the same ways that I thought that I would. Yeah.
And besides the actual main game, I wish that I could take Capcom's by the collar right now and shake them, because the online and multiplayer component of that game is one of the dumbest, most terrible pieces of shit that I have seen in a long time. It is so unbelievably bad.
Damn.
That I had to stop playing it out of fear, out of just pure frustration and just being mad at the world after I finished it. I was like, why would you do this to people?
Yeah, to me, I got a few disconnects. I was like, I don't really need to play this. I just want to play the story. And for me, I like Jill. Carlos actually grew on me. It's just the goddamn dodge mechanic and the beginning chase scenes I absolutely loathed.
Yeah, the hitbox on Nemesis is like the size of a 55-inch screen TV.
Yeah,
it's like you have to have fighting game Sonic. What's his name? Who plays the fighting games right now?
Sonic Fox. Right?
Sonic Fox timing to get out of the way of a Nemesis swipe. It's stupid. It's like just not even well done. It's bad.
You know what though? Listen, again, at the end of the day, I did enjoy it a lot as it got towards the later end of the game. I do say wait for a sale on this one. because if at best it feels like more Resident Evil 2 Remake, and when it feels like that, it's great, but it just feels more of it. And then at times it just gets frustrating because that dodge mechanic is just super unreliable. I understand it's a horror game, supposed to be, but man, it didn't feel good. But Kahlief, I saw that you put something in the notes here that I'm very interested about.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yes. I have been playing.
Tell me about it.
I got a copy. Shout out to Square Enix for hooking me up with a copy early. So the TLDR of it, because I don't want to dig too much into it just yet, because I'm probably about halfway through. So I'll preface this for your audience and everybody else who's going to be listening from Spawn to me as well. So I was a notorious Final Fantasy VII hater.
Ooh.
Like, if there was a banner that I could fly really high, it would be like, yo, Final Fantasy ain't shit. But
So instead of my Mets flag back here, it'd be that. Right on the wall.
if Final Fantasy VII was a baseball team, it would be the Yankees for me.
Ooh,
and I'm from the Bronx, so that tells you a lot.
Yeah.
So the TLDR of that basically was like, I never played Final Fantasy VII when it initially came out in '97 or so.
Yeah.
I waited. It just wasn't on my radar, and I didn't play it, and I wasn't really into JRPGs in that way at all. Played it later when the Vita version came out, and just didn't have frame of reference for what that game was. And the kind of spontaneous battles that you just randomly move from pixel to pixel and wind yourself into a fight, that was a huge part of my disappointment with that game. I just didn't understand what the reasons were for it. Now, the remake, I have to say, is, in terms of the visuals, in terms of the combat, they have leaps and bounds changed the way that game feels, plays, and looks in fantastic ways. So for that part of them, I give Square massive kudos for what they've been able to pull off, because I think that is what you want from a remake. You want to see that reimagining of what that may be.
Yeah.
But the thing that's sticking with me right now, and this is the part that's going to get me thrown off a bridge by all the Final Fantasy lovers.
Go for it.
Is I have no idea why this story is the story that they've given people in this game. Like, I know it's the same story from before with some tweaks to it.
Yeah.
But as a person who is basically coming to the series new and coming to this particular game as a new player, I have no reason to care about any of the people in this goddamn story.
Damn. Okay.
I don't care about any of them. It's one of the things too, where if you think about the kind of initial thrust of the conversation around that game, it's like this. It's a against the man conversation, right? It's like these eco terrorists who are Avalanche are trying to take down the Shinra Corporation. And I can't front right now. I'm like rooting for Shinra. I'm like, yo, kill these dudes, yo. I'm like, these dudes have no purpose in this damn life. Yo, shoot these people in the face.
Yeah.
Why are they still here? No reason. No reason for these people to exist.
But other than that, because like I'm not a Final Fantasy person as well. Like, I don't get the love. I found out what a chocobo was at Final Fantasy 15. I don't get it, but like, there's something about Final Fantasy VII that's clicking for me, and it is that combat. I'm super interested in it. I know some of the textures look wonky as fuck.
Yeah,
like, so like anybody that isn't a main character, yikes. But Kyle, do you have any retort? Do you have any retort, man?
I mean, I'm just sitting here just kind of soaking it all in, because I do love Final Fantasy VII, and I love Final Fantasy in general. I in terms of like the story and why you don't care about them, I totally get it, because for me it didn't click until after the section that we're getting in this first remake. When I first played it. So like there are things that happen that make you really fall in love and care about them, but it just I knew that was one of the hurdles going into this first part, that there was so much more to these characters and how far they grow after this Midgar section, that it will be, like you were saying, Kahlief, that it's just like not, you don't really care. They're a bunch of like assholes, and like it's real hard to root for them in their current state.
Yeah, and I'm waiting for that turn, right?
Yeah,
I'm waiting for that twist to happen, because you hear the lore from what everyone has talked about over the God knows how many years that the game has come out, and people are like, just wait, Just wait till this thing happens, and then you wait till this thing happens. But I'm like, yo, Cloud is one of the most unlikable characters in gaming history. Why are people so hyped about Cloud? I have no clue. That's why people are hyped
the sword
about
and the hair. That's pretty much what it is.
I mean, look, for real, like on the no bullshit meter.
Yeah.
You have all these fine women who are trying to smash Cloud. Mm-hmm. And Cloud is like, it's like if Megan Thee Stallion was like, yo, I'm gonna try to give you the draws. It's like, I'm gonna give you the draws. If you take the draws, I'm gonna give you the draws. One of the finest women on the planet, I'm gonna give you the draws. And me as Cloud Strife is like, I'm a soldier. I don't want them draws. Like, that's a bullshit lies, Cloud. Cloud's a liar.
And then they do these weird grunts. He's like, I'm like,
yeah, I'm like, yo, Cloud, you're fronting your ass off. You know you want the draws. Just take the draws. Everybody's trying to get Cloud the draws, and he does not want to give up the draws.
Dude, that's
stupid.
That's fucking ridiculous. Because Tifa a cutie. They're all cuties.
What? All of them are baddies, and I'm like, yo, what are you doing, Cloud? You could be screw Shinra. Why you can't? You don't care, and you're a mercenary for hire. Yeah. No one's looking to like help you up. Like no one's looking for a relationship. Mm-hmm. They're trying to hire you, Cloud.
Listen, maybe this is the reason why Rule 34 exists. Kids, sorry, Tim, old son, don't go on that site.
My god!
Check it out when you're older, I guess. But anyway, let's square up the news.
Jeez, I was good, and then you got me.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. We're good. First news story comes from the PlayStation blog. Introducing DualSense, the new wireless game controller for PlayStation 5.
We got this straight from the blog. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, you're
straight
fine.
From the blog. We just cut some bits and pieces out. Go check it out. Go read the whole thing. Link down below. Go for it.
So one of the things the DualSense does is haptic feedback. Adds a variety of powerful sensations you'll feel when you play, such as the slow grittiness of driving a car through mud. We also incorporated adaptive triggers into the L2 and R2 buttons of DualSense, so you can truly feel the tension of your actions, like when drawing a bow to shoot an arrow. Battery and USB-C. We also took thoughtful consideration into ways to maintain a strong battery life for DualSense's rechargeable battery, and to lessen the weight of the controller as much as possible as new features were added. The Create button. There's no longer a share button, as we had with DualShock 4. Don't worry, it's not going away. In fact, we built upon the success of our industry-first share button to bring you a new Create button feature. With Create, we're once again pioneering new ways for players to create epic gameplay content to share with the world, or just to enjoy for themselves. We'll have more details on this feature as we get closer to launch. Built-in mic. So far, just to chat with friends. PlayStation Assist not announced yet. The light bar. Additionally, we changed the position of the light bar that will give it an extra pop. On DualShock 4, it sat on top of the controller. Now it sits at each side of the touchpad, giving it a slightly larger look and feel. Don't know how or if this works with PSVR.
Yeah, so with that, I like how I gave no transition into the news, just went in balls deep on it. I appreciate that for myself. Pat myself on the back here. So this came out randomly on a Tuesday late afternoon. PlayStation drops this bomb that is, man, the controller. We finally see a little bit about it. So
you want to see the box? Here's the thing that controls the box.
Bam. I'm gonna go to you, Ka. What was your immediate thoughts? Because boy, oh boy, there's a lot of them.
Interestingly enough, I think the conversation around like, was this a kind of random thing that kind of popped up? Interestingly enough, Xbox was having their Inside Xbox presser or mini presser the same day, and Sony made sure to drop this before Xbox dropped their mini showcase, which I found really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's a gorgeous piece of kit. Like, I think it's beautiful. I think it, like, the aesthetic lends me to believe that the PS5 itself will be white, because they want to match the aesthetic. And kind of the other two, well, there's actually a couple of things really, because I think there's a lot of stuff to dig into. Haptic feedback, I think, is going to be actually really interesting. Mm-hmm. How they incorporate that stuff. We've seen companies kind of move around the ideas that Sony has kind of put out into the world. That's the part that I'm actually interested in, is because Sony is fantastic at.
Is that the feature that interests you the most out of all of them? Is the haptic?
I think Yeah, because the thing that I think is the most important and intriguing part is that what Sony does really well is introduce new things into the controller space. I think they do that probably, second to Nintendo in that respect, because Nintendo is the king of making wonky peripherals. But I think that the interesting part about the way Sony does that is either two things happen. They either really go fully deep into it and like make sure that games revolve around those features, or they kind of have it and it winds up dying on the tree, right? So like the touchpad in this generation before we hit the next one wasn't a thing that really was utilized well, right? It was a thing that was there, but it didn't really get used well by developers in real ways.
It was just like a pause button or like a zoom in, pinch the map.
Yeah. The best use of it that I've seen in the generation that we're currently in was Days Gone, where they use that as a menu prompt, right?
Where you can swipe and go between different pages.
Yeah, absolutely, and that was beautifully done by the folks over who made that happen at Sony Bend. But I think that right now with the haptic feedback parts, I think that's going to play a lot into their future movements with PSVR. I think that's going to be a huge part of the way that scope works. The fact that they moved the touch bar or the light bar away from the top of the sensor to the basically like on top of the controller.
That was my thing.
Also lends me to that, to that idea.
I'm like, how is that going to work? Like, how's like, am I going to need a new camera? Because I know PSVR is going to work in as a forward compatible thing for the PlayStation 5, but like the light bar is a pretty big deal in order to track, and to see just two little lines and that's all you get. That's interesting.
I don't think it's going to use it, to be honest. I don't think that the light bar is going to be what the PSVR 2 is going to see.
Okay.
We've seen that happen with other HMDs, other VR kits, where they're not using that version of infrared or the light source being the thing that it sees. I think that again is going to be a thing that you never looked at on your controller because it was basically a thing you couldn't look at. You have to turn your controller basically towards you to see what it looks like. But now you get those indicators of like your health and all that stuff in that space where you'll be able to see it. So it's going to be real cool to see what they do. And exactly just how many developers like actually take advantage of the haptic feedback stuff in a real way.
And that's what leading back to what you said, like they either full on support it or it just kind of whittles away. And that's why I was very surprised that they were still sticking with the touchpad as well. Haptic feedback, I didn't even think, and I forget that you work in the VR field, correct? I'm not.
Yeah. I work over at Intel in their VR and esports department. Yeah.
And so I didn't even think about the haptic feedback in terms of like how that's going to play in VR. So that actually gets me way more excited for it as well. Kyle, I want to know your thoughts here. What was the feature that sparked your interest? The thing that whether you like or love or hate this controller?
I want to just put this out there. I love the way it looks. I love the aesthetic of it. It still feels like a DualShock, but it looks like future. This is next gen. Like it gives that kind of appeal to it. Also, the way with like the two-tone, the white and the black. Yeah. I actually thought that the side handles come off as like Move controllers at first because of the cutout divot in there where the touchpad is, and maybe the light is on the side there. And I don't know. Maybe that's what's tracking.
Right.
But that's probably like a Mad Catz version of it. You know what I mean?
I was thinking that the white parts, like, because it kind of feels like the black inner area feels like that's where
looks
your
like
grip's
a dock
going to be.
Almost. Yeah.
And I think like the white part is like the haptic zones of the controller. That's what I was kind of thinking, because like the two-tone is a little weird. But what was it, before we get into the weirdness of this controller, what was your biggest thing? Feature?
I mean, I think we both have said before like how DualShock's kind of heavy.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're going lighter and it is a USB-C, thank God. That's a big plus. Interesting about the share button is that create. I like how they say, if you're not going to share it for everyone, just do it for yourself. Create for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's all right. I don't know many people that are going to sit hours to create something and then just not share it to the world these days. But
who knows though? Like, and that's and like that was my most I think not saying exciting feature. But the one that intrigues me the most is like the create button. What are we doing with the create button? Does it get right into the studio suite that you get to edit on the fly? Like, what is the create button? Because to me, this is, I think, the killer feature this generation, not just for PlayStation, but the industry as a whole. Like, once PlayStation took this share button, ran with it, we've seen it's the main way I like to share my screenshots. Just share the screenshot, talk about what I did, like, get it out there. Not only are you promoting the game and promoting yourself as a creator, but then you're also promoting PlayStation at the end as well, with the PS4 or share button hashtag at the end of it. So it's kind of like a win-win for everybody to kind of do, and it gives a more accessible way for people of all kinds, whether you can't afford a $1,000 rig or not, to go out there and at least give some type of creative input a try. And so I like that that's available for everybody to use. I want to know what. Again, I hope that they don't bloat the feature by, like, I just want it to be like, here's your share button, here's your record button, here's your going live, and then whatever this create thing is. The thing that also gets me excited, and I know this is a weird thing to get excited about, but the built-in microphone. Because for me, I know for so many people out there, they can't afford a fancy headset or whatnot. A lot of people use their iPhone headphones. So, like, if there's a way to make gaming, again, more accessible for people of all kinds, of all types of income, that's awesome. Because, yeah, some people can't afford a mic, or their mic breaks, and they're like, well, shit, I gotta wait till payday. At least they have a solution there. And also, it lends credence to the idea that we're going to get that PlayStation Assist thing soon as well, because that is something that I wanted. I want the rumors to kind of either be proven right or be proven wrong, where the rumor was they were going to charge you for if you needed an assist to something, they would offer you a microtransaction or a loot box. I would like them to just go, no, that's not the case. Here's what it is, and it's powered by Bing. I don't know, something outrageous.
Bringing Bing back.
Well, because you can't really use Google because you're kind of competing with them. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, ask Jeeves.
Sony would just make their own, their own search engine, and then it'll be it.
God. That's either a sink or a swim, and probably a sink. But yeah, for me, I loved the look. And Famous Seamus writes in, he asks this: now that we've seen both the PS5 and the Xbox Series X controllers, how do you compare the two? Because a lot of people are like, this is an Xbox One controller. Kahlief, did you get the same feeling?
I mean, I've been lucky enough to played around with a bunch of different controllers over the past couple of years. The Xbox, Elite 2, which I still contend is the best controller on the market right now.
I have it somewhere.
The C40 from Astro, which I think is brilliant. I would have actually kind of loved for PlayStation to mimic the ability to kind of swap the button, swap the D-pad and the other. Yeah, I kind of love that as a concept. I mean, it's fatter on the bottom, right? That's what it basically is. It's a little bit wider at the top, a little bit fatter at the bottom. They're kind of trying to mimic that thing that Xbox is doing, but it also still feels totally like a Sony product, which I think they nailed with the aesthetic.
How do you compare the two, Kyle?
Yeah, I am one of those people that kind of like, that just looks like a regular old Xbox controller. It doesn't look any different. But I definitely, you can definitely see they're going. They each have their own vision, I guess, which is nice. And you can totally see how the DualSense is kind of like taking some Microsoft,
some of their
some
ideas.
Yeah. I mean, just like something that we didn't talk about. I noticed like the triggers look much more improved. Even the thumbsticks, they have like the texture.
Right.
It looks like better grips. So like they're definitely. It's not like every company pretty much like rips off other people's ideas, right? So like they're finally catching up to the times. I'm like, the one thing that everyone says is like, the Xbox controller is more comfortable in
Yeah.
most people's eyes. Not mine. I love my DualShock, but like,
Right.
yeah, why not take some aspects of that and throw it in the DualSense?
Yeah, like I could definitely see where a lot of people are coming from. Where like you can easily make a Photoshop and this look like the same controller, because to me, yeah, the triggers I like them up top. A lot of people are like, oh, those are Xbox triggers. I'm like, are you what are you talking about? No, they look like fatter PlayStation 4 triggers, and the trigger aren't as like indented. As well, and the L1 and L1 R2, all the buttons are closer together. There's no weird gap in between them, and I dig that a lot, because that's one of the main reasons as to why I love the Series X controller, or Series 2 controller so much, is that being able to hit L1 R2 on that controller, there is no movement of the fingers. It's just literally moving the inside of a finger, and it's just so fast. That's what I'm trying to get at there. So like I could see them like the top. It seems a little top heavy like an Xbox controller does. To me, it's actually like thicker up front, and it's actually skinnier. And that's where I think the contention is towards fans and fanboys, is where the grips at the end are kind of slimmer, so that means it's not as round, so that more hands or more types of hands could hold it better than the DualShock 4 controller. So me personally, I like the changes, and whether it's taking some ergonomic features that the Xbox has, so be it. And like you're right, companies steal all the time, and yeah, some of them, more successful than others. So to me, I don't feel it as a slight towards Xbox. Hell, if you're an Xbox fan, take it as a compliment. And if you're a PlayStation fan, I don't know what to tell you. Just hold the controller, judge it for yourself, because at the end of the day, I don't care. And when Tim Wolf, again, patron friend of the show, he was just like, it looks like a stormtrooper. And I'm like, you son of a bitch, I'm in. That's all
right?
That's all
I'm
you have to
loving
say.
all these mock-ups of like fan created, like I forgot who it was, but like the theme ones I sent to you over text,
Yes.
like the God of War one, the Last of Us one, Horizon, Spider Man. They all look so good, and if every single major game has a controller in that style, I'm gonna be broke. I'll have controllers all over the place because they look so pretty.
The God of War one looked stunning, and I think that's the other thing that gets me so excited about this controller, is the fact that maybe Sony can get a
Design labs? Is that what you're saying?
not just design labs,
Okay.
but could get a little goddamn creative with these special edition controllers. They're a little plain Jane,
Yeah.
With that, let's get to the second question here. This comes from Nerd Guy Steve. He writes in with the DualSense controller indicating a radical change in design for PlayStation. Do you expect the console itself to follow suit? Was the PSVR laying the groundwork for the new PlayStation aesthetic going forward? Bonus. Do PlayStation 5 boxes keep the blue or switch to the tricolor as well? This is a good question. I'm going to go with you, Kyle, first. What do you think? What do you think the design of this bad boy is going to be? Do you think that this dual color is going to also be on the main console itself?
Yeah, but I think it will predominantly be white. I think it will match the controller in that the ratio of what the colors are on the controller. I just think it would look weird if it doesn't.
Now,
they kind of have to pair up.
My question to you is, what do you think? I'm trying to think a little outside the box here. What do you think the form factor of this console is going to be? Given that white is the color of this console, do you think it's a deliberate choice because the PlayStation 5 design is going to be similar to a Series X? So they want to kind of differentiate themselves from the Series X in terms of the Series X is a cool black box, PS5 is a cool white looking box.
Oh, man, I hope it doesn't look like that giant tower.
Really? Really?
I'm not a fan of how the Series X looks.
No, I think it's cool.
It's just a big rectangle. I want something cool to sit on my shelf over there.
I could feel Luke Lore throwing his controller across the room, going.
I'm sorry, Luke, but it's just I definitely think it's probably a what's the word I'm looking for? Purpose decision.
Okay.
To go with a different color than the standard black for what seems like every launch console.
Yeah.
in my memory when it comes to PlayStation.
Yeah.
Except for like PS1, which was gray. Like it's definitely a new step going forward for sure.
Yeah. I'm hoping that it's, to me, I saw a mock-up, I put it up on That Big Games when I was talking about this. I wanted to, there was like a pentagon shaped box and it looked dope as all hell. I'm like, give me this weird looking Alexa. I want that. What do you feel about the form factor, Kahlief? What are your minds at?
What I really want is Sony to just fuck with people and just come out of nowhere, and it'll be a white box, but they'll have like 16 different versions of it that'll all be various shades of white. So it'll be like eggshell. Mother of pearl. It'll be eggshell. It'll be like cream. It'll be like, random ass paint wall white. Like, just to fuck with people.
Yeah.
Just to like throw the internet into a tizzy and just like mess with people's minds.
The ultimate loot box.
Yeah.
The ultimate loot box.
Right?
You don't know what you got until you pick up the box.
I could just
and then you go and like compare it with the others. Like, yo, what white did you
Depot?
get?
Exactly. Home Depot.
Get a couple wheel, bring it home.
Yep.
For me, I just imagine the dumb YouTube thumbnails of like Ali like looking shocked, in the corner somewhere. Oh my god, guys, you're not gonna believe I got the eggshell place. It's just like I can. Here's a bad intro. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Yeah,
it's lovely. It's so lovely. I just don't. I mean, it's gonna be I think it's gonna be a horizontal box. Yeah. Honestly, I don't think it's gonna be a thing where they're gonna do the vertical, Xbox version of it. Mm-hmm. I mean, who knows at this point? They will probably match the aesthetic. If they don't, it'll be kind of weird, especially because Sony has been known for their branding.
Yeah.
In kind of a more robust way than the Xbox folks have been in the past couple of years. So they definitely love style. They had their own font for God knows, So it's like, I figure it's going to wind up being that.
I got a question for you. Okay, because dumb rumors happen all the time. And as someone who is in the industry in a bigger way than I'll ever be,
don't you say that? I have faith in you.
Thanks, man.
You keep pushing, damn it.
For me, I've been hearing these rumors that the PlayStation 5, it has heating issues. It's overheating. PlayStation knows it. They're going to change their form factor because of it. As someone who works in the hardware field, is that how without naming names or whatnot, how true and accurate is that statement as you hear it?
I mean, nobody knows, to be honest. Like the things that I'm privy to while I'm in my day-to-day work, like we hear rumors too. Yeah. We hear the same rumors that you're hearing or the same rumors that we're hearing for the most part. I haven't heard specifically about ones around heat. The reason I would think towards that is less from any rumors that I've heard, but more from the conversation that Mark Cerny had when he kind of went through his GDC presentation. Yeah. That whole conversation, if you really think about it from a hardware perspective, was around temperature, was around heat, was around how things are going to throttle up and down depending upon the work that the machine is doing, and how they're trying to offset that with, the way the CPU and the GPU are going to wind up working. So I think like that's not a thing that you've heard from the Xbox side of it, and I think that's not just because of marketing or because of hardware restrictions or hardware choices. I do think that is because they want to make sure that they're laying the groundwork for reasonable expectations from a rabid fan base who has no information right now. So it's like, from a hardware perspective, you never know because everything gets pushed out as far out as you can possibly think. Especially if the game especially if the box is coming out this holiday, which we don't know now because of COVID and everything that's happening with COVID and it eating up people's launch dates. If they have issues with it now, it's already baked in. Like they're gonna have to mitigate what they can by fluctuating things on the software side. Okay. But hardware stuff is probably locked in at this point anyway.
All right. That's good. I'm happy to hear that. Thank you for all the insight. That's fantastic. Yeah. With that, Kyle, we got some sad news.
Oh, no. Before we get to sad news,
yes.
We didn't address Steve's bonus question.
What's Steve's
about
bonus
the PS5
question? Yeah.
game cases.
Oh, shit. Okay.
I kind of don't want the blue, to be honest. I want every new generation to have a new look to it. I kind of like, there was a mock-up, I think, of Ghost of Tsushima PS5 box art.
It's like
with
black.
the black, clear black case. Like, I think that would look really, really sweet.
Yeah, they do like smoke cases. That would be dope.
That would be super cool.
That would be dope, actually.
Something scares me into thinking they're gonna be white cases.
Like Wii?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like
It's so funny me talking about cases when I haven't bought a physical game. It's so
dude.
Listen, it's hard for a physical collector these days, Kahlief. It is real hard.
Oh man.
And Kyle, one more question for you, and just a yay or nay on this one.
Sure.
I am torn between getting Final Fantasy Remake digital or physical. I have the digital, the deluxe pre-ordered physical for $59. Do I wait the extra 4 days because Amazon screwed me over, or do I just go for the digital?
Oh, man, you gave me a yay and nay of this. Nay.
Nay. What about you, Kahlief? Should I do it?
I was gonna say yay to wait.
Okay.
Because it's the thing,
I
right?
them in my head. Yeah, I would also say yeah.
I'm gonna wait.
I have to wait a week, Joe. So you have 4 days. I have a full week.
That's true. All right, fine. Yeah. With that, let's get to the bad news here. Kyle, would you like to read this one for us?
Jordan Oleman writes, Sony automatically issuing refunds for The Last of Us Part 2 and Iron Man VR. The news was revealed via the Sony support portal, where a banner notes that players who have purchased digital pre-orders of either game will be reimbursed. Those affected by this should have received emails from Sony detailing the refund process. This is in response to the indefinite delays announced for both games last week. Iron Man VR was primed for a May 15th release, while The Last of Us Part 2 was scheduled to launch on May 29th, 2020. This changed last week when Sony announced that logistical problems caused by the COVID-19 pandemic were preventing the company from, quote, providing the launch experience our players deserve, end quote. Naughty Dog wants to ensure a fair global rollout for all players, which means taking into account supply chains and internet infrastructure worldwide.
So I'm gonna break this down. Actually, let's do Moody's question first. With Mr. Moody writes in, huge fan of the show. Thank you so much, Mr. Moody. I'm so glad you're okay. Everybody is all right over there. He asked this question: with The Last of Us Part 2 getting delayed, do you think it's only a matter of time that Ghost of Tsushima is also delayed? Heck, let's add Cyberpunk as well. P.S. I love the show. In these trying times, I send all my thoughts and my prayers to you, to your friends and family. Thank you. Right back at you, my man. I'm going to go with you, Kahlief. First, initial thoughts of the delay. Do you think more is to come, or do you? What are your thoughts? Go for it.
I think that's the biggest question for, like, if you're in any version of content creation and you're talking to people about getting codes or about kind of, ramping up your coverage for a particular game, it is the first question you should be asking folks is like, what does your roadmap look like right now in terms of, is your thing going to hit launch when you think it is? Is it going to get pushed back? The interesting part about the kind of bundling of those two games together in this one announcement is that Last of Us 2 is the biggest game that's going to drop on PlayStation for the foreseeable future, right? Iron Man VR is not.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, Iron Man VR resold me on VR on the PlayStation platform because when I got a chance to play it at PAX, I think, it was fantastic. It is a very cool experience.
Yeah. Kyle thinks the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the part that I don't get is like that game doesn't really lend to the idea that there was going to be a big, like super hard launch for that in comparison to The Last of Us 2, where there's going to be lots of marketing material towards it.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I get it. It's Iron Man. You want as many units as you can get, but like, I don't know. Maybe it's just the way I play VR, but like the PS4 is my last, like the last vestige of physical media that I consume. Even when it comes to like PSVR, I don't touch it. I buy everything digital if I can. It's just weird knowing that. I don't know. Maybe there's some analyst behind the scenes that knows way more than me, probably. Physical is still a big thing for PSVR owners, and that's why they're also delaying it. But like again, it's PSVR. Yeah.
I just figured out why they want to do it.
Go for it.
They're going to do a bundle. That's why.
Oh,
That's the reason why.
You're right.
That makes sense.
They're gonna do a PSVR bundle with it. That's the reason why they're holding it, and that makes sense.
Well, just wait. Fuck me, guys. Iron Man Special Edition PSVR headset.
Imagine if they skinned the VR headset.
Yep, exactly.
Then I can't front. That would make a lot of sense.
Be like,
That'd be great.
God damn it, Mark! You got my money.
Yeah, basically. Yep.
Kyle, what do you think about this delays wise and more to come?
Yeah. Obviously, selfishly, this sucks. I want to play both of these as soon as possible, but like logically, realistically, this makes sense. Like, why? There are more important things going on where people need to use their money financially, and being able to escape in these worlds, even though Last of Us might be a little too close to home.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's the world without TP and what?
That stuff is like second nature.
Yeah.
There's more important things going on, and like it's not that it's not a delay because at least in Last of Us standpoint, it's not a delay because there were issues with the game. The game's like done.
Yeah.
It's just delays to make sure as many people can play it and not have other people spoil it, because there are always those assholes that are going to spoil it.
And
So,
you avoid the whole, what we're seeing with Final Fantasy VII. The rollout is so weird.
Very weird.
Because of the distribution being so fucked up as it is at the moment. So, like, for me, I think the reason why they're not delaying Ghost of Tsushima yet is because they want to see where we're at that time. So we'll probably get, if we're still in the thick of it by May, and let's pray to Shu that we're not, or if that we're not, then you're going to see a delay for Ghost of Tsushima as well. And like for Cyberpunk, I think we'll be fine by Cyberpunk, knock on wood. But like for me, I definitely feel like, what Kahlief was saying earlier is just like, what is your rollout plan? And I think this also tends to my belief of why we haven't seen that much PlayStation 5 stuff is right now the rollout is all types of tangled. All these games with the situation at hand, they're trying to get their head above water on this before they tout the latest and greatest from PlayStation. So for me, it's not a big deal. I'm not even like disappointed at all. There's way more important things. And big props to PlayStation. I know this is their store policy, but actually following through on it and by going like, here's all the money back. That's pretty amazing. You sadly should expect it, but don't. With that said, I know there was one more thing I wanted to tackle here. I got it. PlayStation 5 coming up with the delay of The Last of Us Part 2. Is this going to be, hey, you know what? Fuck it. This is not a PlayStation 4 title. This is a cross-gen title. We're going to rip the label off. We're just going to call it PlayStation exclusive, and it's out in November. Kind of like with Halo Infinite right now. It's just like, it's on Xbox, the platform. Kahlief, what are your thoughts on that? Where do you think, if not, this game's going to fall?
Oh, I mean, I think even if they were to hit their normal launch date that they shot for before, that this was going to be a cross-gen title anyway. You can't not have that be something where there's some enhancement to it that would be on a PS5. Because, like, think about how beautiful that game looks on the latest on the latest version of what we have right now.
Yeah.
And just think about what that's going to look like on a PS5 when they actually don't kind of skimp on textures and they have the ability to kind of stream that stuff in faster. Like, it would be stupid for Naughty Dog to not already have a plan where that thing was going to be on both anyway, not via backwards compatibility.
So you think there was a team working on the back end for the PlayStation 5 port, and now that this is all said and done, all hands on deck for that?
I don't know if it's all hands on deck. I think that, if you're a first party company or a third party company who's like basically a first party company, then you're already probably have PS5 dev kits anyway.
Right.
So it makes sense that you're already building off that anyway. So I think they probably have a plan. Like, I think they have one. I think Tsushima definitely has one. I think who else is a really big kind of third party?
Like Santa Monica probably has one.
Right. Yeah. So like they're all like definitely tinkering with the tech already. So it makes sense for that thing to be cross-gen for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. What say you, Kyle? Do you think this comes out in November Shu wills it.
Oh yeah, and the question of greatest launch game ever will be squashed at that point. It'll just be Last of Us Part 2. If that is a PS5 launch game, like I don't know how much higher you can get when it comes to launch games.
Yeah, and I mean, like at the end of the day, they could do, to me, walking in, they could do the littlest improvements. Like they could be like, instead of 30, it's 60 FPS.
Yeah,
like, and then just walk away, explosion in the background, and we'd all be fine with it. Like, to me, I do feel when I got the notice from Best Buy, God damn, those bastards still have my money. But like December 31st is the date they gave me. And I was like, yeah, no, if this was like delaying it a month or 2 months or 3 months, this is delaying it by saying, okay, listen, we don't know. You know, rumor has it this thing might come back in the holiday season. So this is us kind of just holding off. We're not gonna I'll say it. We're not gonna blow our load in November, and God forbid we have to then set it back again till February or whatever. This is them playing it safe by saying, okay, we don't know yet. We know it's coming out, but yeah, I do think, to me, yeah, not all hands on deck, but I do think the majority of the team would be working on some type of, either just at this point smoothing out the bugs like they would typically do, and then by like early June be working on the enhancements of this game. And since the architecture is so similar, I can see something a little special. I don't think like a whole big like kit and caboodle for this game, because I don't think it necessarily needs it. But with that, gang, we got the last news story on the list, and man, we went long in the tooth here. So let's get to it. Kyle?
New controller, that happens.
I know that, again, it's big news. Kyle, what's this other sad news?
Rebecca Valentine from GamesIndustry.biz writes, the ESA will not hold a digital E3 2020 event. It's official. There will be no E3 2020, not even online. In a statement shared with PC Gamer, the ESA has confirmed that it will not be holding an online experience for E3 2020, as it had originally planned, with the cancellation of its physical event due to COVID-19. Quote, instead, we will be working with exhibitors to promote and showcase individual company announcements, said an ESA representative. We look forward to bringing our industry and community together in 2021 to present a reimagined E3 that will highlight new offerings and thrill our audiences, end quote. Late last week, the ESA confirmed to its partners that its next E3 event would be held June 15th through 17th, 2021. Meanwhile, IGN has partnered with several of E3's usual staple publishers, including Square Enix, Sega, Bandai Namco, and Devolver Digital, to host a Summer of Gaming event in early June, which will include publisher presentations and announcements.
This was... Okay, last week, Kahlief, just to get you on board with this here, I was just like, it's weird, they're still not saying anything. Gamescom is really coming ahead of the message with going like, we're planning on physical, but don't worry, we'll refund you if it's not, and we have this digital event as well. Jeff Keighley wave. And and now seeing ESA now going, okay, listen, remember when we said we had a plan? It was kind of bullshit. And them just saying, we're going to be here 2021. I was listening to the Ryan McCaffrey interview with Phil Spencer, where he was talking about the future of the Xbox brand and saying how he was just getting off a call with the ESA about this situation, and it just kind of struck me as, I think everybody got in the room and said, why can't we just do this ourselves? Why do we necessarily need you? And I think, and I want to know briefly your thoughts on E3 as a whole, where you think it's headed, if it's going in a dark path, and what do you think about IGN taking the reins, going, hey, we're all about the news and what's hot, and we're the #1 video game website in the world, will kind of be the substitute of all that. What are your thoughts?
I mean, first of all, F you IGN for taking my stuff. I wanted to do all that stuff on Spawn on me, and you snagged it because you're bigger than I am. Whatever, bro. I mean, I heard conversations from 2 years ago at this point at E3 with some folks that you mentioned within some of those conversations and others. Well, not directly, but like in periphery conversations of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But there's been the feeling that E3 as an entity, as a show, was kind of on the downhill slide was evident for a long time. I think the biggest tea leaves that we saw were all the companies pulling out pre-COVID, right?
Yeah.
And then honestly, it's interesting because as much as Jeff Keighley is like a part of the industry proper and like deeply embedded and knows everyone and all that stuff, I wasn't really on the like E3 is going to not really be a thing anymore until he pulled out. And I was like, that's a sign of no confidence in huge ways. When Jeff Keighley pulls out of your show, that's when you know something's wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean? And to a certain extent, you know, like I don't know if anyone needs E3 to still be what it is.
Right.
In
It's
the
kind
same
of like
ways
the
that it is.
pageantry. People people like the pageantry of a show. Like Thanksgiving Day, you're expecting the football game, you're expecting that goddamn parade, you're expecting the dog show. That's what I'm looking at. God, they're all puppies, you know? So that's what I'm kind of expecting.
Yeah, you have an expectation. I think it's been a part of the industry flavor and the industry kind of things that you know to expect throughout a year. But I think that the blessing and curse to a certain extent to everybody else, and sadly not to the ESA, is that everybody's kind of already been doing this work and prepping for it anyway. Yeah. Like Nintendo's been doing their directs, Sony is still trying to figure out what to do with their stuff. And everybody else is already
Xbox. Yeah,
everybody's already kind of doing the work. Even kind of funny when they jumped up into the indie showcases for the past couple of years. Like there are other places that people can go do that work and make things happen that don't necessarily involve that entity as a whole. It will be really cool to see how they what they actually do provide this upcoming in 2020 because I just don't know if people are going to still from a publisher and developer
do you
perspective
think they're just like
still rock with it.
We're good. Like at 2021, do you think that's a real possibility?
I mean, the most telling answer I got from the interview I did with Stanley during the show was when I asked him about the future of the show, and he was like, you know, we really want to make sure that we're still bringing the energy that we have to all those spaces, and I believe him in his want to be able to do it. I don't believe the industry has the same need for the show that the ESA has for it.
And just as a person outside of looking in, I don't feel like the ESA has the capability of pulling off that show that they want.
Well, the problem was this, right? So you had the first year where they basically had 2 years to kind of get their stuff together. And the first year that they brought in the public was the year that it was probably the worst.
Yeah.
Not because the public was there, because, you know, I love you, public. I want to hug you all. But it's also one of those things of just like, you can see the very stark differences between the folks who run PAX and the people who run E3. Like, I don't understand why they didn't sit into a room and get, you know, Tycho and Gabe and everybody in the room was like, yo, how are you doing this?
Yeah.
Because you can tell when you go to E3 and you see the public going into that show, they are not prepared.
Yeah.
And therefore the public is not prepared in the same way.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Like they had some smart things that they were trying to do for the press, like give them press days and then let the public come in and run through. But I just don't see the digital version of E3 being as prominent or as good as the going to the floor, seeing the people on the floor with people behind you running around. Like that's the part that people care about E3 because they can go sit and watch all the press conferences from home anyway.
And that was my thing too, is like for most people, it doesn't really matter. You're going to get the same press conference. And I'll go to you, Kyle, here. What's the possibility? I'm going to bring you in on this. I'm going to get your hype up. Okay. IGN, you got all eyes on you. This is a terrific opportunity for them. And when we're talking about like the kind of funny showcase, there's also an audience, a devout audience, and a culture within that website as well, between all the different personalities that they could bring something new. And what better way? They already had this planned. Kyle, what are the odds in this IGN special summer of games? We see Batman.
Oh, Joe, man. Let me do a quick nipple check. Yeah,
I saw it through the camera. I saw it.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
Yeah.
That'd be really, 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 really cool. Because I think the plan for that game was to be unveiled around E3 anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, they were supposed to have a presence. They were supposed to have a press conference.
Yep.
And just to get a real question out here for you, with the digital event not happening, we saw Bethesda going, we're doing our own thing. Where are your thoughts on IGN kind of taking the mantle of what would be an E3, at least maybe press conferences or announcements wise?
I think it's cool.
Yeah.
I think even if IGN didn't, I would have hoped that all these companies would do it anyway, a digital type presentation, just because that is, again, selfishly, that'd be such a huge chunk of what made my summer, kick off the summer. Like, I would, call off of work and just sit at home and watch E3 press conferences all day. I've said this before, but every month or so I watch old press conferences just to get the same reaction,
just to feel something again, Kyle.
And, oh man, it's especially like see the games that are announced and everyone's excited for, and then after playing them, like, oh yeah, no, that didn't pan out all that great.
Yeah,
like it's just there's something special about E3 and the way games are showcased, and it's just nonstop. There's usually something there for everybody. It's a magical time when it comes to gaming.
Do you think IGN could capture?
IGN's doing it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you think IGN could capture that love?
Yeah,
Kahlief, you're saying no. You're like no.
You don't think so?
No, and only in not to
be the bringer of bad news.
To differentiate between Kyle's nipple love right now.
Put that.
But it is in the same way that I agree with Kyle at the fact that the hashtag nipple love at the energy that is there during that show. The thing that makes IGN and the big sites really cool is the fact that they have all those embedded people on the ground giving you their flavor of it, right? When you have the stuff that's kind of more truncated in this way, and now we know it's more than likely just going to be all digital things, you lose the flavor of the energy that goes along with that. Like, really quickly, like being at E3 for the past couple of years and like doing the work of like trying to cover that show, it is the hardest week of all the stuff that I do in a year, right? Yeah. But the energy that you just talked about, Kyle, is the thing that pushes you, because you're like, I know when I go from this hall to the next hall, I'm going to hear something, see something, or be a part of that energy. And you can't really replicate that thing.
Right.
We saw with the WWE stuff, right? It's like no crowd, it changes the way things move and the way things sound. Yeah. It's totally different. So I think I love IGN. I think they do fantastic work. But I don't know if you can capture that same zeitgeist in the same way.
And not just that, and I know it's like entertainment news, and I know we're running along in the tooth here, but like you lose that kind of not like I'm gonna use this word because I'm lacking better ones, but like that journalistic integrity or separation of this title,
right?
And what, like, are you kind of forced to say, oh yeah, Batman, year one looked awesome, when in fact it's like a 2D side scroller and it's you're actually playing as, I don't know, Superman. Like, it's like it doesn't. Yeah, go for it.
Also, really quickly, like one of the things that people don't understand is like when you're covering the show is that there are still surprises.
Yeah.
And when you're IGN, who's pulling in all the assets already, you're pulling in all the stuff before, like you lose the ability to be surprised by a thing. So I think that part of it too, you don't go back to the press room and you're like, yo, this thing I saw, everybody needs to see before you leave the show this year. Like you lose that because all those things are kind of coming to you already, because you already have to make assets and build out programming around it.
It's kind of like if you're making a sports center type of like feel, it's gonna be weird. That's how I'm thinking of it in my head. It's like, you got the weird round desk, they just showed something, and like, what, like, please be excited, like.
Yeah, they can't really do a pre-show if they know what's going on. They can't be
right.
like, oh, what are you expecting? Yeah, that's good. And like, I totally forgot, like, watching all-day coverage of E3 where they would have like the developers come in and talk about their game for 15 minutes or so, and then hearing about a game that looks cool, and then just go and follow all that news coverage. Yeah, that's would be gone If it's just like here's a video of everything and not really hearing from the developer itself in depth and hearing other reporters from different outlets talk about their time with the game, it'd be missing for sure.
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. I'm interested, but again, this conversation's kind of like changed my view up a little bit, because before I'm like, okay, let's see what they can do, and now I'm like, all right, let's see what they can do. With that, some very quick lightning news. Marvel Spider Man is available on PS Now. Actually, these are all the games that are available on PlayStation Now. Spider Man from April to July 7th. Just Cause 4, April till October 6th. And then The Golf Club 2019.
Yeah.
To like whenever. They didn't give a date. And I got a question for you, Kahlief and Kyle. Are you holding on to something? Just say yes. Just say yes.
I am. I'm holding on to it.
Kyle.
Always.
All right, good.
I'm holding Kyle's nipple right now.
Prepare the drop. Each and every week, PlayStation drops the latest and greatest in all things PlayStation onto the PlayStation storefront. The only problem is that there are way too many amazing games to list, so each host picks one game of their choosing and talks about why they're so excited. Kyle, I gave you this pick. What's yours this week?
Final Fantasy VII Remake, a spectacular reimagining of one of the most visionary games ever. Final Fantasy VII Remake rebuilds and expands the legendary RPG for today. The first entry in a multi-part saga, delivering a level of depth inconceivable for the original. Mind-blowing story, unforgettable characters, epic battles, and technical excellence collide.
There you go. This is your game. I'm excited whenever you get to play it.
I know.
So sorry.
Hopefully by next week's show, I'll sink some time into it.
My pick, and you showed me this before the show, and I had to talk about it. Eye of the Storm, Sharknado. Fight your way through swarms of hungry flying sharks in Sharknado VR. Slice them with the chainsaw, shred them with machine guns, or explode them with the RPG. Can you survive the Sharknado?
I need to see this game.
So good. So good.
Amazing. Kyle, what's your last pick? Or sorry, what's your game of the week?
I was going to curb off of Kyle's and go back to Final Fantasy VII. I think it's the thing that you should definitely be playing. And also, I have to give you master props for mixing up the promo theater movie guy and also doing the mashup between that and the hormone monster from Big Mouth, which sounds fantastic. And I love as the way that you introduced the drop. That's fucking dope.
The hormone monster.
It's so good. So good.
Now that I'm hearing how my voice is saying it in the editing,
so good.
I get it now. 110%.
It's so good. It's so
good. God. Our last and final segment. And honestly, I would have skipped this one this week because we're running along in the tooth, but I love these questions we got. It's Andy's Snail Mail. Now, each and every week you can send your questions in via PS Trophy Room on Twitter, Mr. Badbit on Twitter, or the Casa de Badbit Discord server. Or you could, pen a letter to Andrew House. Each and every week I fly over. I steal some of his mail. Did I take, a plane from Chicago over to Great Britain, the land that is, and steal Andrew House's mail? Absolutely. And did I get 2 pieces of mail this week? You're damn right I did. And so with that, this question comes from the Insipid Ghost himself, and he asks this. Microsoft has seemingly stepped up its effort to re-enter the Asian markets, with xCloud and Game Pass leading the charge. Does Sony need to react to this, or can it be ignored for the time being? Kahlief, I want to go to you here. Xbox pulled this incredible statistic. It's 200% up in South Korea in terms of players gained there via xCloud. What do you feel like? Is xCloud going to change the way that we're or the Asian audiences, South Korea, Japanese audience, is that going to entice them away from their Switch or their PlayStation?
No. And also, I wish that I could do an Andrew House impression because I think it would be so fitting right now. I just can't pull it up. You got it? You got it? Please hit me.
Each and every week, Joseph steals my mail. This is how, so real talk, and I'm sorry, we're gonna, I'm sorry.
I'm derailing your derailment.
I'm derailing the derailing here. It's gotten so bad in quarantine, every time my family goes out for a walk, I give them an inspirational speech off the cuff. I go, listen here, we are entering into the unknown, but what we have is each other. We have nothing to fear but fear itself and people that aren't staying away 6 feet. Anyway, do you think it's an issue?
No, well, honestly, that's a perfect way to segue that back into it.
Thank you.
I don't think it's going to be an actual issue. I think, honestly, the thing that Sony needs to worry about, aside from xCloud kind of chewing up the Asian market, is that Sony needs their own version of Game Pass.
Yeah.
They need that more than anything else on the planet right now. So, like, cloud stuff and the Asian market, which I think they still have a fairly good hold in, and I still think that people think of Microsoft as a American company over in Asia and in Asian regions, Asia regions. I don't think they have a thing to worry about.
Yeah,
I think they'll be fine.
I mean, as long as Persona keeps coming out on PlayStations over there, I don't think they have anything to really worry about. Kyle, what say you?
Yeah, I think this is just more them reminding the Asian market, like, hey, we're a thing. Also, we have that giant game that's big over there that's coming to our systems.
It's like that kart racer?
And
Crossfire.
Crossfire game, yeah.
Yep.
Be like, hey, we're a thing. We can play it here. It also feels like kind of like playing catch up. It's like,
Whoa,
it's so huge.
Kyle's
I'm just
still
saying,
on
like,
fire. Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, in the mind share over there, like, it's PlayStation first and foremost, and then PlayStation, Nintendo, and then Xbox is just like, hey, we're here too.
Hey, gang, you bought 50 of us last week. No, that I do think xCloud is not so much a game changer of just giving a different experience to people, and I think the changing metric that is players rather than systems being sold. And I think that's what Game Pass offers and xCloud offers. And yeah, Kahlief, I think you're 100% right. Man, PlayStation now needs to get better. And I think we're going to see that with the Azure servers via the help of Microsoft. And so, yeah, and either way, Microsoft will be making bank because Azure servers, them essentially, that deal of them kind of renting those servers, it's going to make them money overall. With that, our last question, this comes from Marcus O'Neill. This one's just for you, Kyle. Would you like to read it, or you want me to read it?
I would be honored to read it.
Thank you.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for Rogue Legacy 2? What do you hope to see from the sequel? I'm at a full 10. Again, nipple check very hard right now. What do I hope in the sequel? I hope to see more classes of heroes, to go in. I want to see more variety in the boss fights, or just in the enemies themselves.
Yeah,
because it does feel like every section does have 1 or 2 new enemies, but they never really grow beyond that. Like even their super powered versions, it's just like it's like an extra burst of shot or whatever for every level that they go up. I just want to see more variety with that. But like, I'm so happy that wasn't an April Fool's joke. I was so happy. Yeah, I'm very, very excited. I went back to just see if I could platinum the first one, and the one trophy that I desperately need is impossible. You have to beat the whole game with only using 15 heroes.
Oh, jeez.
Which is like, if you played that game, you know how insane that is.
Yeah.
You die a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, probably not going to happen.
All right. Well, there you go. And that has been the trophy room. But before we go, Kahlief Adams, tell everybody where they can find you, sir.
First of all, thank you both so much for having me on the show this week. That is a blast. I had so much fun.
Thank you for being
and
on,
I definitely please invite me back on, because that was a blast.
Absolutely.
You can find out all our stuff on all podcast platforms. You can check out our Spawn on Me live recording of our shows on twitch.tv/Spawn on Me, usually on Thursday evenings around 7 p.m. PST. We suspended our Patreon to kind of help folks deal with COVID and not have to spend any extra money towards us right now. But when it does go live, you can go check that out at patreon.com/Spawn on Me, where you can hear our secondary show called Some More Thoughts. A cheeky way to kind of get that across. And yeah, like, we're doing stuff all over the place. We're hopefully going to do a charity event in the next couple of months. We're just trying to figure out the finalization of those things. Probably doing it more towards the upcoming elections that are happening. So we're probably doing some get out the vote stuff there. And yeah, just check out our dope stuff on all the places that you find usual content under Spawn on Me Podcast, YouTube, Instagram, and all those places as well.
And dude, thank you so much. Again, I know we kept you a little longer than anticipated, but the conversations were so good, I did not want them to end. So thank you so much. Everybody, please, 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 for the love of whatever deity, go check out Spawn on Me. Again, Kahlief Adams, you do some of my favorite work in video games. You're fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on. Kyle,
Thank you, fam. Okay.
No,
Okay.
not even the thing, man. Not even the thing. Kyle,
Yes.
what do you got to pimp out for us?
As always, I like to pimp out myself. WhoDatNinja73 on Twitter and on PSN. My show, all about the kind of funny community, called Best Friends Talk Funny, is at BFS Talk Funny on Twitter. If you're in the New York area, after all this craziness comes down, go to kindanyc.com to check out our community meetups, as well as our other gaming show, Platform Agnostic, and our conversational show, Dollar Slice Pod. Also, shout out to KFBF Josh Biddick, who had me on his Kind of Funny Up and Comer podcast, where I talk about how honored I would be to get one of those spots this year for the Kind of Funny Up and Comer thing. So yeah, go check those out.
Yeah, go for it. And with that, that's been the Trophy Room. Of course, you can always find me at Mr. Badbit on Twitter. You can find the show on YouTube at Badbit Games. And you can find the show also on Twitter, PS Trophy Room. And you can find the show wherever you get an RSS feed. Please, please, please rate us 5 stars. And next week, Todd Aksha, I will not forget to read your 5-star review on iTunes. But with all that said, with all that out of the way, everybody keep hunting and keep playing PlayStation.